Hey boys and girls, this is to help you learn the different parts of the cello. So feel free to get out your Essential Elements book and turn to page 2 so that you can follow along with me as I introduce you to the different parts of the cello. All right, so first we have what's called the scroll. And that's this part right up top here that you can see curves around at the top of the cello. Okay, that's the scroll. Now sitting on the scroll, you can see these 4 knobs. Those are called pegs. Okay, and they sit inside the peg box right here. Okay, if you can see that a little bit more closely up there. Okay, now those pegs have a really important job. They help tune the strings. So to make the strings go higher or lower in pitch. Now, I don't want you to touch these pegs unless I'm helping you, okay? So don't touch them. But when you do, you're either going to turn them towards you, especially if I'm holding the cello like this, towards you to make the string go lower in pitch, or away from you to make the string go higher in pitch because you're tightening the string, okay? Now, again, we will not touch these unless I ask you to, okay? All right, that being said, we've talked about them already. There's 4 of them. These are our strings, right? C, G, D, and A. C is our lowest, our thickest string, and A is our highest or our thinnest string, okay? Now, those strings run along this black part here called the fingerboard. That's the only place that our fingers are going to go on the cello. Our fingers are covered and our hands are covered in like dirt and oil, even if we can't see it. So the more we touch our cello, the more that dirt and oil gets on our cello. We don't really want that to happen, okay? So try to keep your fingers touching only the strings on the fingerboard, okay? Now, that being said, that fingerboard also goes along what's called the neck of the cello. So just like we have a neck, our cello also has a neck, okay? And that's where our left hand is going to rest in just a little bit. Now, following those strings down, the cello is humongous, right? So following those strings down, we get to this part here called the body of the cello. So just like we have a body, our cello also has a body. And on the side of the cello, you see these curved parts here called the ribs, just like we have ribs, right? Now you're going to see these 2 huge holes on either side of the cello. They're shaped like that F in music class that you've seen for the word forte, right? Very fancy. These F holes allow the sound to project out of the cello so that everybody can hear the music that we're making. Now the next part that I want you to look into, or look at, I should say, you have to look into the cello to see. And I don't know if you can see it here, but if you peek inside your cello, you can actually see a pole that's standing up, and that's called the sound post. Now, if the sound post falls, you need to tell mom and dad or whoever's at home with you so that they can take the cello to Music and Arts to get that sound post put back up, okay? Or let me know so I can help you take it to somebody who can put it up for you. But that sound post, if it goes down, could have your strings or everything else on your cello fall off your cello, and we don't want that, okay? We don't want cracks in your cello or anything like that. So if you hear something rattling around inside your cello, it could be the sound post, and you have to let me or your parents know immediately, okay? But that doesn't usually happen, especially if we take good care of our cello when we take it out of the case or put it back in the case, and especially when we play it. All right, now, the next part, you can see that the strings run down the fingerboard over this little wooden part here called the bridge, okay? Now, if the bridge ever falls down, you're going to notice that your strings don't make a sound. And if that happens, I can help you fix that, okay? But we have to do it together, okay? So just let me know if your bridge falls down. Again, you want to be careful to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, the strings run along the bridge or over the bridge to what's called the tailpiece, okay? And this tailpiece, kind of think of it as like the cello has a body, it has a neck, it has ribs, and now it has a tail, okay? Now on that tailpiece, you might see what are called fine tuners, and you can see them on my cello as well. Those are those little knobs right here, okay? Now they each belong to one of your strings. One belongs to A, one belongs to D, one to G, and one to C. And by turning those fine tuners, you can either make the pitch go higher, turning them to the right, or make the pitch go lower, turning it to the left. I'll help you use those. So again, don't start turning them until I help you, okay? All right, now, the other thing that's really important about this cello is because it's so big, we have what's called an end pin. Okay, an end pin is this thing right here. So in order to pull our end pin out of the cello so that we can make sure it's the size we need, you're going to turn that little knob that should be there. Okay, now your end pin will probably start inside the cello, so you're going to loosen that knob, pull the end pin out. Okay, and then you're going to tighten that knob again so that the end pin doesn't move. It stays where you've put it. Okay. Now, to find the height or the distance that you need to pull this end pin out, you need to make sure that when you put your cello down, that the pegs come right by your left ear. Okay, so this bottom peg here comes by your left ear. If the cello is all the way up like this, then your end pin is out too far. You want to push it back in. If your cello sits all the way down here, then chances are your end pin is not out enough, so you want to pull it out even more, so that eventually when you sit with the cello, you get this nice little ear to peg height, okay? All right, so that's it for the parts of the cello. I'm going to go over more about the end pin and holding the cello in another video, but hopefully you can take some time to get familiar with the parts of your cello so that you know whenever we talk about them in class where these different parts or elements are, okay? All right, good luck, boys and girls.